What's it like to live in a place with no roads in or out, where the sun doesn't rise for months or never sets for weeks? Alaska isn't just cold and massive. It's home to some of the most isolated communities in the United States. In this video, we're exploring 10 of the most remote towns in Alaska, places where nature still rules, cell signals fade away, and life flows to a rhythm that's completely different from the modern world. From towns built under a single roof to villages where polar bears wander through, get ready to experience a side of Alaska few people ever see. Utqiaġvik, formerly Barrow. Utqiaġvik, once known as Barrow, is the northernmost town in the United States. Perched above the Arctic Circle, this community lives through a surreal reality. During the summer, the sun stays up for more than 2 months straight, while winter brings nearly 65 days of total darkness. There are no roads that lead to Utqiaġvik. The only way in is by plane year-round, or by ship in the brief summer months when the sea ice retreats. This isolation shapes every part of life here. Home to around 4,500 residents, most of whom are Inupiat, the people of Utqiaġvik hold tightly to their traditions. Whale hunting is still part of their subsistence lifestyle, and the end of each hunting season is celebrated through Nalukataq, a joyful gathering filled with dancing, drumming, and the iconic blanket toss, where participants are launched into the air using sealskin blankets as an act of gratitude. But life here isn't easy. Basic groceries are flown in and cost several times the national average. Despite the challenges, Utqiaġvik has become a vital hub for Arctic climate research, sitting on the front lines of global warming. In 2016, the town officially returned to its Inupiat name, Utqiaġvik, a tribute to its cultural roots and enduring spirit. Whittier. If you ever dreamed of a town where everyone lives under one roof, Whittier is that dream come to life. Tucked between snow-capped mountains and the sea, this small coastal town is home to roughly 200 people, and nearly all of them live in the same building, the Bagich Towers. This 14-story complex doesn't just house families. Inside, you'll find a church, grocery store, city offices, and even the local police station. It's a town under one roof, a design born from necessity, but one that's fostered a deep sense of togetherness. Getting to Whittier isn't easy. The only land route is through a narrow 4-kilometer-long tunnel, shared by both cars and trains. In winter, Whittier is often cut off entirely by snow and ice, reinforcing its reputation as one of the most secluded places in the state. Originally built as a secret military base during World War II, the town's history is still visible in the abandoned Cold War-era buildings scattered across the hills. Today, Whittier serves as a summer port and a hidden gem for glacier explorers and nature lovers. Despite the silence and isolation, Whittier's residents live closely connected, almost like one big family. Life here is quiet, remote, and extreme, but it's also full of warmth, resilience, and an unmistakable sense of belonging. Talkeetna. Somewhere between Anchorage and Denali National Park lies the quirky little town of Talkeetna, a place that feels like a charming time capsule tucked deep in the Alaskan wilderness. With a population of just around 1,000 people, Talkeetna blends frontier history, rugged adventure, and a whole lot of personality. For mountaineers, it's the launch point for expeditions up Denali, North America's tallest peak. Every summer, climbers from around the world gather here to prepare for their journey. But even if you're not scaling mountains, Talkeetna still has plenty to offer. Its historic downtown is lined with log cabins, art galleries, rustic cafes, and locals with stories as colorful as the buildings themselves. What really put Talkeetna on the map for many visitors, though, was a small-town legend. Mayor Stubbs, an orange cat who symbolically served as the town's mayor for 20 years. His presence turned this already eccentric town into a must-stop destination for tourists who came to see the feline figurehead and snap a selfie with the unofficial leader of Talkeetna. And the town's eccentric charm doesn't stop there. For years, it hosted the Moose Dropping Festival, a hilariously unique celebration of local culture involving games, music, and plenty of small-town humor. Though the festival has since ended, the creative spirit of Talkeetna lives on, especially in summer when the streets fill with travelers, musicians, and artists. At its heart, Talkeetna is more than a waypoint for climbers. It's a warm, tight-knit community built on adventure, art, and a love for life off the beaten path.
Oh, she got it!
Yeah, girl!
Nome, perched on the remote western edge of Alaska, Nome stares straight out across the Bering Sea, an outpost that has weathered both history and harsh weather in equal measure. It may be hard to reach, but Nome's legacy looms large in Alaska's story. Back in the early 1900s, Nome was ground zero for one of the greatest gold rushes in American history. Thousands of prospectors arrived in waves, sifting through beach sands in search of fortune, some even panning for gold directly along the shoreline. The town boomed with saloons, tents, and ambition. While the gold rush eventually faded, the spirit of that wild era still lingers in Nome's weathered buildings and the rugged pride of its residents. But perhaps the most famous chapter in Nome's history belongs to a dog named Balto. In 1925, when a deadly diphtheria outbreak threatened the town, Balto led a sled dog team through brutal Arctic conditions to deliver life-saving medicine. That heroic journey inspired the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race, an annual event that now ends right here in Nome, honoring the courage and endurance of both the dogs and their mushers. Today, Nome is home to around 3,500 people and remains accessible only by air or sea. The local economy revolves around mining, government work, and support services. But Nome also serves as a cultural anchor for many indigenous communities in western Alaska. And in the land of the midnight sun, summer is cause for celebration. Each year, the Midnight Sun Festival lights up the town with music, dancing, and community spirit under a sky that never darkens, proving that even in the most remote corners of Alaska, the human spirit shines just as bright.
Doing something wants to buy my art, or, a woman from Tennessee who's never seen a muskox.
McCarthy. Tucked deep in Alaska's wilderness, McCarthy feels like a forgotten outpost from another century. Surrounded by the towering peaks and vast ice fields of Wrangell St. Elias National Park, the largest national park in the United States, this remote town was once a lively outpost supporting the Kennecott copper mine. Back in the early 1900s, McCarthy was known as the place miners went to unwind. Bars, hotels, and even brothels lined the dusty streets, offering escape after long, brutal days underground. But when the mine shut down in 1938, the town emptied almost overnight, slipping into silence and near abandonment. Today, McCarthy has found new life, not through mining, but through adventure. There are no paved roads here. Getting in means driving a narrow gravel path or flying in on a bush plane. Fewer than 100 people call this place home, and most only stay during the short summer season. Yet in those few warm months, the town comes alive with music festivals, art shows, and small community gatherings that echo through the valley. There's no cell service and not much in the way of modern convenience, but that's exactly the appeal. McCarthy offers something rare, a chance to disconnect from the world and reconnect with the raw, rugged spirit of Alaska. Kaktovik. On a windswept barrier island in the far northeastern corner of Alaska, the village of Kaktovik looks out over the frozen expanse of the Beaufort Sea. Isolated and icy, it may seem like just another dot on the map, but for those in the know, Kaktovik is famous for one extraordinary reason: polar bears. Every year, after the local Inupiat community finishes their traditional whale hunt, the bones are left near the edge of town. Those remains attract dozens of wild polar bears who wander close in search of food. For wildlife photographers and ecotourists, it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to see these powerful predators in their natural Arctic habitat. Life in Kaktovik is far from easy. Around 300 people live here, most of them Inupiat, and nearly everything, from groceries to gasoline, must be flown in. There are no roads connecting the village to the rest of Alaska. Instead, life here runs on subsistence hunting, fishing, and deep cultural traditions passed down through generations. The winters are long, dark, and brutally cold. Like other towns above the Arctic Circle, Kaktovik experiences polar night and midnight sun, adding another layer of extremity to daily life. But in the midst of the cold and isolation, the community remains tightly knit, rooted in resilience, and deeply proud of their place at the edge of the world. Unalaska, Dutch Harbor. Out in the far western stretch of the Aleutian Islands, the city of Unalaska, often known by the name of its port, Dutch Harbor, is a place where isolation meets intensity. Jagged volcanic mountains rise up from the sea, storms roll in without warning, and the wind never seems to rest. But despite its remote location, Dutch Harbor is one of the busiest fishing ports in the United States. It's the beating heart of Alaska's crabbing and cod industries, made famous by shows like Deadliest Catch. Each year, millions of pounds of seafood pass through this rugged outpost, fueling an economy that's equal parts tradition and high-stakes industry. Unalaska has a population of about 4,500 people, made up of Aleut Unagan locals, commercial fishers, and immigrants from all over the world. It's a mix of cultures held together by the sea and by the shared experience of living in one of the most weather-beaten towns in America. This place also holds a unique place in history. During World War II, Dutch Harbor was one of the few parts of the continental U.S. attacked by Japanese forces. The scars of that conflict still remain in the old bunkers and coastal defenses scattered across the hills. Life here is hard. The weather is unpredictable, the winters are rough, and the work is demanding. But for those who live in Unalaska, it's home, a remote but thriving town that proves you don't need to be near the mainland to make a big impact. Adak. Out in the far reaches of the Aleutian Islands, surrounded by the vast Pacific Ocean, lies the ghostly and windswept town of Adak. Once a key U.S. Navy outpost during World War II and the Cold War, Adak was home to thousands of troops stationed at one of the most remote military bases in the world. Today, only remnants remain: abandoned buildings, empty barracks, and rusted-out relics of a bygone era. It feels like a time capsule from another world. When the military base officially shut down in 1997, the population plummeted. Now, fewer than 200 people call Adak home, making it one of the quietest, most isolated towns in America. There are no roads leading in. The only way to get here is by plane or boat. There are no big festivals, no busy downtown, no buzzing nightlife, just silence, raw nature, and echoes of history. Life moves slowly here, shaped by wind, solitude, and the weight of the past. Adak isn't just remote, it's otherworldly. Bettles. North of the Arctic Circle, tucked away in Alaska's interior wilderness, is Bettles, a tiny town that feels like it sits at the edge of the known world. With a population of fewer than 20 people, Bettles is only accessible by small bush plain. There are no roads connecting it to the rest of the state, and much of the year, it's wrapped in freezing cold and deep snow. But what Bettles lacks in size, it makes up for in wonder. This is one of the best places in North America to see the northern lights, thanks to its dark skies and remote location. Every winter, travelers arrive just for a chance to witness the Aurora Borealis dance above the Arctic wilderness. Bettles also serves as a gateway to gates of the Arctic National Park, a place with no roads, no trails, and no developed facilities. It's one of the most untouched landscapes in the country, and Bettles is your starting point if you're brave enough to explore it. There are no supermarkets, no cell service, and barely any modern convenience. The people who live here rely on small-scale tourism, bush flights, and subsistence living. Bettles isn't just a town, it's an escape, a frontier, and a reminder of how raw and resilient life can be. Cold Bay. As its name suggests, Cold Bay is not for the faint of heart. Sitting on the southern tip of the Aleutian chain, Cold Bay is known for having some of the harshest weather in Alaska. Constant wind, thick fog, and heavy rain are part of daily life here. With only about 50 residents, it may seem like a forgotten outpost, but during World War II, Cold Bay was a vital U.S. military airbase. Its long runway, built to handle large military aircraft, still stands today and remains an important emergency landing strip for trans-Pacific flights. There are no roads to other towns, no large stores, no schools, and very few public amenities. Access is only by air or sea. Life here is stripped down and incredibly quiet, but for the people who stay, that's part of the appeal. It's not a place for crowds, and it doesn't try to be. Cold Bay is about isolation, endurance, and the stark beauty of nature at its most unforgiving. Living in these towns isn't easy. There are no highways, no malls, no constant cell signal. Life is shaped by the weather, the land, and the close bonds of small communities. But that's exactly what makes these places special. In these forgotten corners of Alaska, you'll find stories of resilience, simplicity, and a deep connection to the natural world. These are towns where the wilderness still wins, where time slows down, and where life, though quiet, is deeply alive. So, which town would you visit first?